If you grew up in America in the 1980s, you knew New York as the dangerous city. A new drug hit the streets. So cheap, anyone could afford it. So deadly, it turned entire neighborhoods into war zones. Over 40,000 fires burned across the Bronx. Whole blocks abandoned. Families fled. The city was dying. By 1981, New York was gasping for air. The factories were gone, the money was gone, and into that vacuum came something even deadlier. New York was drowning in a new enemy. They called it crack, a drug so cheap, so addictive, it didn't just ruin lives, it rewired them. For a while, it felt like New York had become two cities, one trying to survive and another falling apart. It moved fast, faster than the police, faster than the news. One day, it was a rumor. The next, it was everywhere. Street corners turned into marketplaces. Children learned to run when they heard a car slow down. In neighborhoods already left for dead, crack finished the job. Apartment buildings became fortresses. Mothers slept with chairs pressed against the door. The night no longer belonged to the city. It belonged to the dealers. The numbers were staggering. Murders doubled. Robberies tripled. A single rock sold for few dollars. But the cost to the city was beyond counting. And somewhere far away, someone was getting rich. A network was forming, one that stretched from the jungles of Colombia to the streets of New York. A new kind of empire was being built. The Colombian cartels, led by Pablo Escobar, had discovered a gold mine in American addiction. The city became one of the biggest gateways, a river of white powder that flowed through nightclubs, Wall Street offices, and broken homes. At the street level, it meant survival or destruction. For some, dealing was the only economy left. For others, it was a death sentence waiting in a smoke-filled stairwell. Whole communities were locked down. Black and Latino neighborhoods bore the brunt. Entire generations lost to bars or addiction. While the city outside sank deeper into chaos, another world came alive at night. Under the glow of spinning lights and mirrored walls, New York found a way to forget. At Studio 54, reality stopped at the door. Inside, time didn't exist. Only music, fame, and drugs. If you could get past the velvet ropes, if you were lucky enough, you entered a dream where the world's problems simply didn't apply. Steve Rubel and Ian Schrager's nightclub became the temple of escape, a fantasy of beauty and excess, built in the middle of a city falling apart. Outside, unemployment, fire, fear. Inside, champagne fountains, silk dresses, and white horses on the dance floor. Bianca Jagger rode one through a crowd of stars, while sanitation workers picketed for their jobs just a few blocks away. Studio 54 wasn't just a club, it was an illusion, a glittering bubble floating above a dying city. For those inside, it was paradise. For everyone else, it was proof that heaven was invitation only. But that dream was never for everyone. The factory worker, the cab driver, the woman shopping for groceries in Queens. They would never see the inside of Studio 54. That world belonged to another New York, the one made of money, names, and faces that never waited in line. While the city's streets filled with fear, the chosen few danced beneath chandeliers and starlight, pretending for a few hours that the world outside didn't exist. John Lennon had sung about peace, love, and a better world. But on that night, New York, the city he called home, reminded everyone just how fragile those dreams could be. He was the most beloved of the Beatles, the poet, the dreamer. And though he was born in England, he chose America as his home. He chose New York, a city that matched his energy, his chaos, his hope. But what Lennon didn't know was that the same streets he walked for inspiration would one day be the place where his life was taken. He had dreams still left to sing. December 8th, 1980, a night that New York and the world will never forget. Outside his home, Lennon was shot 4 times, and in a single heartbeat, the music stopped. The city froze. Radios interrupted songs mid-verse. Taxi drivers pulled over to cry. People hugged strangers on the sidewalks. For one night, millions of hearts beat in unison, not for a celebrity, but for a man who once believed the world could live as one. New York became a temple of mourning. Candles flickered against the winter wind. Voices rose together, soft, trembling, singing the same song he left behind. For a city already broken by fear and loss, it was one more reminder that even the brightest lights can fade. And when Lennon's voice disappeared into the night, it felt, for a moment, like the whole city stopped breathing with him. The question we'll never be able to answer is this: would John Lennon have been safe somewhere else? Was New York the wrong choice, or the only one he could have made? We'll never know. But maybe that's what makes this city and his story so unforgettable. Beauty and danger, hope and heartbreak, always side by side. Morning came. The city exhaled, and a new voice filled the air. Ed Koch, loud, blunt, relentlessly New York. "How am I doing?" He'd ask strangers on the street, as if willing the city back to life by sheer force of personality. He inherited empty coffers and exhausted people, so he did what accountants and street preachers do best. He balanced the books and sold a future. Parks got crews again. Playgrounds got paint. Streetlights worked. Garbage moved. And for the first time in years, hope felt like policy. Koch believed recovery meant order, graffiti war, union strikes, cabaret crackdowns. Order had a cost, and the people paid it. Koch cheered business back to Manhattan. New towers rose, tax rolls swelled, but some neighborhoods got playgrounds, others got patrols. He was a mayor of contradictions, smiling photo ops and hard arithmetic, fresh paint on bridges and fewer hands to hold the brushes. Still, something undeniable shifted. Contracts, construction, confidence. The city that had lived on fumes began to breathe in full sentences again. Ed Koch didn't erase the darkness of the 80s, but he gave New York a spine and dared it to stand up straight. He was the mayor the city needed in that moment. Because in New York, the mayor isn't just a politician. They're the difference between chaos and order, between a city that runs and a city that burns. When the mayor fails, the city feels it instantly. When the mayor fights, the city fights back. Koch fought, and New York survived. Out of fear and fire came a youth that refused to disappear. They were the city's renegades, kids the headlines had given up on, and they wanted a voice. In the Bronx, a DJ named Kool Herc stretched the break long enough for the whole block to breathe. Grandmaster Flash turned 2 records into an instrument. Afrika Bambaataa gave a fractured neighborhood a culture, a code, instead of a gang. This wasn't just music, it was survival with rhythm, poetry over concrete, a way to say, we are still here. On the walls, color answered sirens. Keith Haring drew hope in subway stations. Jean-Michel Basquiat painted the city's noise, its wounds and crowns. Downtown, basements shook with punk. Uptown, block parties crowned MCS. And when the city tried to scrub the paint each morning, the stories came back by dusk. Names spread fast. Run DMC, LL Cool J, Beastie Boys. Kids from sidewalks and schoolyards suddenly on radios, on stages, in every borrowed speaker on the block. Every bar was a headline the papers ignored. Every tag was a manifesto the galleries would one day frame. It was art, emerging from chaos and violence, and then becoming an American icon. Not clean, not polite, real, unmistakable. Ours. While the streets found rhythm and rebellion, downtown rediscovered its favorite sound, the ringing of cash registers. Wall Street was back, louder, faster, hungrier. Greed is good wasn't just a movie line anymore. It was policy. Brokers, bankers, developers, they flooded Manhattan with money and mirrored glass. Until October 19th, 1987, Black Monday. In a single day, The market lost a quarter of its value. But even after the fall, New York stood tall. Because in this city, greed never dies. It only waits for the next opening bell. By the mid-1980s, New York had found its confidence again. Money was flowing, towers were rising, and amid that new skyline, one name began to stand out. He was young, ambitious, and unafraid of attention. A real estate developer who saw opportunity not just in buildings, but in spectacle. The man was Donald Trump. His tower on Fifth Avenue became the symbol of the decade, gold, glass, and unapologetic excess. His name spread from Manhattan to Atlantic City. Casinos, hotels, headlines, a brand built on ambition and ego. By the late 1980s, the cracks showed. Debts, failed casinos, fading shine. Still, his rise captured the spirit of New York in that moment. Ambitious, restless, impossible to ignore. In a city always chasing the next big thing, he became both a product and a symbol of his time. What he didn't know then was that his name would one day leave these streets entirely and echo far beyond them. Not from a tower, not from a casino, from somewhere no one in the 80s could have imagined. Beneath the glass and gold, the city carried a quieter war, not fought with sirens or headlines, but with hospital beds, empty apartments, and names no longer spoken. The AIDS crisis arrived like a shadow. First a whisper, then a wave. At first, no one even knew what to call it. Doctors were confused, theories contradicted each other, and every diagnosis felt like a sentence: no cure, no roadmap, no tomorrow. Hospitals filled with faces too young to be fading. Nurses worked in fear, not knowing if a touch could be deadly. Families stopped visiting, terrified and heartbroken. In a city already fighting crime, drugs, and despair, a new enemy arrived. Silent, invisible, merciless. Celebrities and artists who once defined the decade began to vanish. Rock Hudson, Hollywood's leading man, was the first public figure to break the silence. Keith Haring, whose bright murals had brought color to subway walls, faced the disease with the same honesty he brought to his art. Arthur Ashe, the tennis champion, would later reveal his own diagnosis, turning courage into education. And countless others, dancers, musicians, waiters, lovers, friends left only photographs, poems, and silence. Fear spread faster than facts. Rumors filled the air in offices, schools, and churches, and while the city's leaders debated, ordinary people built the first lines of defense volunteers, neighbors, strangers cooking for the sick, holding hands when no one else would. New York learned to be a neighbor again because there wasn't anyone else coming. And in that silence, courage found its voice. Every vigil, every candle in the park, every march down Christopher Street was a declaration. We are here, we are still human. By the late 1980s, the skyline glittered brighter than ever. Wall Street had recovered. New towers rose. But below those lights, the city carried thousands of untold stories of loss, resilience, and quiet defiance. The 1980s gave New York back its wealth, but it cost the city a generation of dreamers. And when the decade finally ended, it left behind not just progress, but scars. By the end of the 1980s, New York had seen it all: fear, loss, greed, and glory, and yet it was still standing. The worst seemed behind it. Crime was slowing. New neighborhoods were rebuilding. People were smiling again, even if just a little. The city wasn't healed, not completely, but it had learned how to live with its ghosts and move forward anyway. Mayor Ed Koch left office in 1989, leaving behind a city stronger, louder, and more complicated than ever. He'd balanced budgets and bruised egos, yet when he walked down the street, people still shouted the same question. "Hey Mayor, how am I doing?" A new generation was coming. Artists, dreamers, hustlers, building their futures on the bones of the past. The energy shifted. The streets spoke louder than the skyscrapers. Hip-hop, fashion, cinema, all of it was being reborn here. What happened in New York never stayed in New York, because this city, for better or worse, has always been America's mirror. Its triumphs become national pride. Its tragedies, national pain. What happens here echoes everywhere. New York is not just a city. It's a heartbeat that sets the rhythm for the world, business, music, film, art. Every idea that reshapes America passes through these streets first. It's a place that tests you. If you can make it here, you've already learned how to face the world. Because in New York, the noise never stops, the lights never fade, and the dream never sleeps. Through chaos or calm, New York remains the same. Restless, resilient, and relentlessly alive. It may stumble, it may break, but it always finds its way back, and when it does, the whole world takes notice. Cities have souls, and if that's true, then New York's is made of noise, light, and scars. In the 1980s, this city was chaos and beauty tangled together, a place that could break you in the morning and make you believe again by nightfall. It wasn't perfect, it never was. But perfection was never the point. New York is motion. It's struggle, it's noise that somehow makes music. What happens here doesn't stay here. When New York trembles, the world feels it. When it creates, the world listens. When it mourns, the world bows its head. The tragedies of New York are America's tragedies. Its triumphs, the world's reflection of hope. It's the city that teaches you to fight, to keep going when no one believes, to fall 7 times, and stand up 8. For every heartbreak, there's a song. For every loss, a mural. For every empty street at dawn, someone walking toward another chance. Because this city doesn't belong to the powerful or the perfect or the lucky. It belongs to the ones who stay, to the ones who try again, to everyone who calls it home, even if only in their hearts. Decades have passed. The towers changed, the faces changed. The skyline rose again, but the heartbeat, it's still the same. So if you ever lived here, or dreamed here, or loved someone who did, then this city will never really leave you. Because New York isn't a place you visit. It's something you carry in the noise, in the light, in the way you keep moving, no matter what. And maybe that's what this city has always tried to tell us, that even after the darkest nights, the lights always come back on. This is New York, always changing, never defeated, but one question remains. Will the future of New York shine as bright as its past?